Hello everyone and welcome back to your Daily English Dose. Today we are going to read a very serious and important news story from the United Kingdom. It is about the British royal family and a prince who is no longer a prince. This story is a perfect way to practice your English listening and reading skills with a real-world topic. The news uses some difficult and formal words, but don't worry. We will read this story slowly, and I will stop to explain the most important vocabulary for you. Let's begin our story and find out what happened to Prince Andrew. Part 1. The King's Final Decision. On Thursday, October 30th, 2025, Buckingham Palace in London made an announcement that shocked many people in the UK and around the world. The statement said that King Charles III had started the official process to take away his brother Andrew's titles and status. The man who was once second in line to become king will now be known simply as Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. This announcement was a huge blow. First, he lost his title of prince and all other honors. Second, he was given a formal notice to give up the lease on his huge 30-room home, Royal Lodge. This was not a temporary break from his duties. It was an official, final, and public rejection by the king. The palace statement was very clear. It said these actions were necessary, even though Andrew continues to deny the accusations against him. The statement also added something very important. Their Majesties, the King and Queen, wish to make clear that their thoughts and deepest sympathies have been, and will always be, with the victims and survivors of abuse in all its forms. This showed public support for victims, which many people felt Andrew himself had failed to do. Part 2. Why did this happen? The long scandal. This moment was the peak of a scandal that lasted for 25 years. It was a major crisis for the monarchy. This story involves a friendship with a disgraced financier, a terrible TV interview, and a multi-million-pound legal payment. So where did it all begin? Part 3. A fateful friendship. It started in 1999 when Prince Andrew was introduced to an American financier named Jeffrey Epstein and his friend, Ghislaine Maxwell. Over the next few years, the three were seen together many times, even at the royal family's private homes like Balmoral Castle. Here is the most important point. The friendship did not end even after Epstein was convicted of a crime in 2008 involving a minor. In fact, Andrew invited Epstein to Balmoral after the conviction. This showed what the palace later called a, quote, serious error of judgment. For Epstein, being friends with a prince gave him social acceptance. For Andrew, Epstein gave him access to a very rich lifestyle, with private jets and luxury. This relationship would later become the cause of Andrew's complete downfall. Part 4. The accusation and the lawsuit. The friendship soon turned into a criminal accusation. In 2014, a woman named Virginia Giuffre, who was then Virginia Roberts, claimed in court documents that she had been trafficked by Epstein. She alleged that when she was 17 years old, she was forced to have sexual contact with Prince Andrew 3 times. Prince Andrew has always and strongly denied these claims. In August 2021, Ms. Giuffre started a civil lawsuit against Andrew in New York for sexual assault. Andrew's legal team tried to have the case dismissed or thrown out. But in January 2022, a U.S. judge made a very important decision. Judge Lewis A. Kaplan rejected Andrew's request. This was a huge blow. It meant the case would move forward to a public trial, where Andrew and other royals might have to give testimony under oath. This legal decision was the catalyst, or the main cause for the royal family to act. Part 5. The disastrous interview. Before the lawsuit, Prince Andrew tried to fix his public image. In November 2019, he did an interview with BBC Newsnight. He wanted to explain his side of the story. It became one of the worst public relations disasters in modern history. Instead of clearing his name, the interview made the public believe he was arrogant and had no sympathy for the victims. He gave several bizarre explanations or, quote, alibis. First, he claimed he could not have been in a London nightclub with Ms. Giuffre on one of the nights. He said he was at a Pizza Express restaurant in a town called Woking with his daughter. Second, he responded to Ms. Giuffre's detailed memory of him sweating heavily. Andrew claimed he had a medical condition from his time in a war, and this condition made it impossible for him to sweat. But the worst part was his lack of empathy. When asked if he regretted his friendship with Epstein, he said the friendship had been actually very useful. He showed no sympathy for Epstein's victims. The public reaction was immediate and extremely negative. Just days later, Prince Andrew was forced to step back from all public duties. Part 6. The Settlement. The disastrous interview was bad, but the lawsuit in 2022 was an even bigger crisis. A public trial would be a disaster for the royal family, especially during the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. So, in February 2022, Andrew made a decision. He reached an out-of-court settlement with Virginia Giuffre. A settlement is an official agreement to end a legal argument. To stop the case from going to trial, Andrew agreed to pay Ms. Giuffre a large amount of money. The exact number was not made public, but experts believe it was between $10 to $16 million. As part of the deal, Andrew did not officially admit guilt. However, he did release a statement. In it, he accepted that Ms. Giuffre was a quote, victim of abuse, and said he regretted his friendship with Epstein. By paying millions, many people felt he was admitting the accusations were true, even if he didn't say it. The settlement ended the legal case, but it did not end the scandal. Part 7. The King's Final Move. After the settlement, Andrew was still a prince. But things changed in September 2022, when Queen Elizabeth II died. Her son, Charles, became king. King Charles and his son, Prince William, had a much stricter view. They saw the Andrew problem as a direct threat to the future of the monarchy. Prince William reportedly saw Andrew as a reputational risk and wanted the problem solved before he became king. Then, in 2025, more bad news came out. A newspaper published a leaked email from 2011 where Andrew told Epstein, "We are in this together." This proved his interview claims were not true. Also, Virginia Giuffre's memoir, or life story, was published after her tragic death, bringing the painful story back into the news. The public was still angry. Protesters even shouted at King Charles himself about his brother. This was the tipping point. The scandal was now damaging the king. King Charles had to make a final move. On October 30th, 2025, he did. He used his power as king to remove all of his brother's titles and his home. Part 8. The Future for Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. So what happens now? Andrew is no longer a working royal. He is a private citizen. The order to leave Royal Lodge, his 30-room home, is a powerful symbol of his fall. He will move to a private accommodation on the Sandringham estate, which is a private property owned by the king. This move puts him far away from the center of royal life, under his brother's direct control. His financial future is also dark. King Charles has cut off Andrew's private allowance, which was his main income. His only official income now is a small Navy pension. He has lost his taxpayer-funded security and must now pay for it himself, which costs millions. By cutting off all money, the king is using financial power to control his brother and enforce his new private life. Conclusion: a monarchy's survival. This story shows the survival instinct of the monarchy. The Andrew problem was like a wound that would not heal. The king chose to cut it off to save the whole organization. This action sends a clear message about King Charles's slimmed-down modern monarchy. There is no place for those who are a liability or a risk. Thank you for listening and reading along with us today. This was a very complex and serious news story. It is a great way to practice English related to law, news, and official announcements. We learned many important new words, like stripped of, lawsuit, settlement, and tipping point. Was this story difficult to follow? What new words did you learn today? Please let us know in the comments below. If you found this practice helpful, please give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to your daily English dose. We will be back soon with another great story to help you improve your English. See you next time.